Today, bail-in Mark II. Hello, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics World, and the latest post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. And today I'm joined by Robbie Barwick from the CC in person.
Hello, Martin.
Yeah, Robbie, great to see you down here in the studio.
I'm thrilled to be here. John Adams calls this Resistance Central, so this is quite exciting. Great place.
Thank you. Well, it's a really interesting conversation that we're going to have today because bail-in is not dead. And so anti-bail-in has got to sort of take a new
We have to escalate.
approach. Yeah, okay. So what's going on?
Okay, we've just launched a petition. So we'd planned this for a while. The impetus though became was the interest rate cut by the Reserve Bank, which the media dishonestly cast as, some kind of just normal run-of-the-mill event. Whereas we know it proves there's real panic, right? If the 3% interest rates, RBA cash rate after the global financial crisis was emergency level, this has to be panic level, right? And it means the banks are in danger, right? Because we've always been very conscious of that. No banks in the world have been as exposed to one asset, housing, as Australia's banks are, right? And you've had lots of material, as you know, on that. All the Irish, contributors to your show, feedback we get, they're saying it's worse than Ireland. And so a housing market problem is a banking problem, right? And when since the global financial crisis, if you've got a banking problem, they've set up a system to deal with it in quite an extraordinary way that most of the public don't know about and will be very shocked when it's done to them. It's called bail-in, right? Your savings can be seized to prop up those banks. And so when the Reserve Bank cut rates, right, we thought they're panicked. This is all these signs are growing, and it's not just in Australia. Deutsche Bank, it's on death watch, etc. Any number of things can trigger a full-blown banking crisis, and we know that the danger, therefore, for Australians of bail-in, having their savings seized to prop up those banks, has never been greater. So we've launched a petition to spread the word and put pressure on Parliament to do something about it.
Right, and there's been a long history here, and you guys have been involved in that for a long, long time. Of course, there was legislation slipped through Parliament. There was then denial amongst the political class that anything had happened, despite the fact that the international regulators and the IMF and other people are saying, you need this.
Yep.
And of course, in New Zealand, it's much clearer.
Much clearer.
Yeah, and it's interesting that over there, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand governor has now said, we need to lift capital a hell of a lot, because otherwise the bail-in may have to be brought in and actually activated.
And I found it humorous, not for the poor Kiwis, of course, but the Banking Association in New Zealand submitted a paper to the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. Effectively, they said one thing I agreed with, which is that bail-in shouldn't happen because you cannot expect the depositors to have the information that the regulators should have to know the risks. So that's one. Therefore, how could you really put the burden of the losses onto the depositors? But secondly, they said, and therefore we don't think it will happen. And if the banks are in denial that it could happen, with a system that you and I have both looked at it, nowhere in the world is as explicit as New Zealand. They produce lovely illustrations of exactly how it's going to happen, and it's your deposits they're going to take to bail those banks out. And if the Kiwi banks don't buy it, and they're the subsidiaries of our banks, you can see why there's a lot of denial here in Australia, right? But there shouldn't be denial. So what I thought I should do, it's not a long petition because you've got to keep it short for Parliament, but it's worth reading out because we had to construct it in such a way that addressed all that denial, right? How it happened and all the denial. So it's called Hands Off Our Bank Deposits, Stop Bail-in, to the Parliament, yada, yada. This petition of the CEC draws the attention of the House that Australia and the world are facing a new financial crisis, with panicked financial authorities slashing interest rates and trying to stimulate the housing market to save the banks, which are in grave danger from their excessive mortgage lending and reckless and fraudulent lending standards. Global financial authorities expect Australia to prop up failing banks through bail-in, converting bonds and deposits into shares or writing them off, which will enormously damage individual savers, businesses, charities, superannuation funds, and all other enterprises which lose their funds. Legal analysis of the crisis resolution powers legislated secretively for APRA in February 2018 has confirmed they could be used to bail in bank deposits. The government denies deposits can be bailed in, but admits the law is from the Financial Stability Board, which applies bail-in to bank deposits. The Financial Stability Board and IMF are directing Australia to implement stronger bail-in laws like those in New Zealand, the European Union, the USA, which all apply to deposits. To stop this planned theft, we therefore ask the House to 1. Amend the 2018 law to explicitly exclude deposits. 2. Block the stronger bail-in legislation the government is planning. 3. Rescind APRA's crisis resolution powers and pass instead the Separation of Banks Bill 2019 to protect deposits from speculation.
Hi, excuse the interruption, but if you're getting value from this post and have not done so, please consider subscribing to this channel or ring the bell for custom alerts. Plus, please consider supporting our efforts. You can make a one-off donation via PayPal, here's the link, or subscribe via Patreon for as little as $3 US a month or more to get access to exclusive additional content. Alternatively, you can also donate using Bitcoin. Here is the QR code. The links are in the comments below. I really appreciate your support, which enables us to continue to make more great content. Thanks very much. Now back to the current show.
People can get on the CEC website, cecaust.com.au, get on there and sign it. And we're going to circulate in multiple forms. We'll also launch a change.org one soon. But the main thing is what you can do with these petitions is you start training firepower onto Parliament. Now, there's a few things to be conscious of there. A lot of denial after that law was passed on Valentine's Day in 2018, right? With only 8 senators present, they just secreted it through. And the government said, no, that can't be used to bail in. And we've covered that on this show quite a lot. Politicians who were lobbied by their constituents would go and ask questions of the government, which usually went to Treasury, and they all got the same denial. No, that can't happen. So a lot of politicians, of course, whether they thought about it a lot or not, when they get an official, like an authority saying, no, that can't happen, that's relief for them because they don't have to think about it much more, right? They just pass the reply back to the constituent and say, see, I dealt with it for you. There's nothing to worry about. And of course, it doesn't fly in this case because it is something you've got to know the details about, right? So you don't take a politician's reassurances that your money is safe because it's just not the case. But we've now got a new parliament. This is key, right? There's actually quite, funnily enough, so many Liberals thought they were going to lose, they bailed out. There's 30 new Liberals in Parliament, right? Etc. So there's a new makeup of Parliament. And now's the time to really put heat on those guys. Because if we can at least achieve the first thing we're calling for, which was an amendment to that law, it doesn't materially change the law. All it says is, okay, this language here, this broad language that we've identified can apply to deposits, which is the words or any other instrument. And you and John then did the work to show that even if they say, well, that's only instruments that have bail-in in their terms, well, APRA can order the banks to change their terms and conditions almost without notice, right? So all the raw material is there for a bail-in. Well, just take those words and add a little bit of language to it, which says, but this can't apply to bank deposits, and then add a definition of what deposits is, so it's a bit of a catch-all, and they can't pretend some deposits are more worthy than others or less worthy than others. That's all. And if you move that amendment, well, all it does is confirm in writing what the government claims.
Yep.
Right? It's no big deal. There's no actual grounds to oppose it by the government, but if they do, it'll show them up because we know. You saw the same IMF report we did. They're saying not only do we have that law, they want stronger laws. They want us to have that power to bail in deposits, right? So at the moment, it's a backdoor one. They wanted to make it even more explicit than that. So now's the time to strike, and that's why we've launched the petition.
Great. Okay. So it's up on the website, and we'll put a link
It's
below.
it's on the website. Go to cecaust.com.au. Also, let me say to people, there's a lot of information that we put out in our weekly magazine as well, where we detail this stuff. If you want more information on this, then it's easy to find on the website, etc., because it's a new website. Call the toll-free number. So it's 1-800-636-432. Just call that and you'll get information sent out to you. And you can call that number to ask for even extra information, etc. Someone will talk to you and give you what you need to know, right? And get involved, right? Because this is an issue that people who know about, have become very fired up about, right? And I think it's one issue that can really get under the skin of politicians and make them think twice about, do we really want to go down this path, right? Because what you're effectively doing is saying, okay, the public, households, as you showed in your post last week, they are consciously saying households will carry the can for the mess that we're allowing bankers to create. And to us, that's the worst thing about bail-in. The authorities could intervene on the banks now and say, clean up your act. Say, stop gambling in so much in things like derivatives. Break them up so that deposits cannot be used for anything risky. They could do those sort of things now. I know, carte blanche, go your hardest, boys, right? But they've set up this system where households are like human roll bars on a racing car, right? You guys are going to wear the cost of or wear the impact when this happens, and that's unconscionable. So now's the time to strike.
Great. Well, the battle of bail-in is not over.
Not over.
We'll keep pushing. Robbie, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Martin.
So there you have it. Very important message there from Robbie. And go and sign that petition and help to bring more attention of this issue back into Parliament. It's really important. And as Robbie says, as the global financial crisis Mark II rolls on, it's ever more important that we take the right steps now. Martin North from Digital Finance Select. See you next time.